If you go on eBay and do a search for Garé Barks, mid-century modern artist and wife of famous Disney artist Garé Barks, here's what you're likely to find. 1 million copies of a print of a painting Garé completed in 1971, published as The Tree of Life, which I write about in my new book, Garé Barks Paintings and Drawings, 1961 to 1981. You'll also find several original paintings and other prints as well. But here's the problem. Most of the paintings attributed to her on eBay are not by Garé Barks. Let's look at the first one. The first thing I look for when I'm trying to see if a painting is authentic is the signature. As a professional artist, Garé worked out her signature in the early 1960s and stuck with it throughout her career. After about 1962, it never varies. In an authentic signature, her G is always squared. Her A is shaped like an A-frame, and her E has an accent over it. Always. My book reprints over 400 of her paintings with signatures, and they're all the same, like clockwork. Next, look at the back of the painting. Garé always placed her ID number on the back of the either stretcher board or the masonite, along with the painting's title, and most of the time, her stamp as well. If it's blank like this, it's not by Garé Barks. Finally, look at the painting's style. This one often isn't as cut and dried if you haven't looked at hundreds of her paintings like I have. But this just isn't Gary's style. She never used a fan brush to dab on paint like this. Okay, let's look at another painting that's been misattributed. Same issues. This slapdash approach to dabbing on paint isn't something Garé ever did. And the signature, though hard to read, is not hers. You can tell because the G isn't square. And again, if you look on the back of the painting, no ID number, no title, and no stamp. Okay, one more. Same deal. Fan brush used to dab on paint, not Garé. Signature, G isn't square, no accent over the E, not Garé. And on the back, nothing. No ID, no title, no stamp. Last one. All the same issues. The fan brush and other slapdash painting techniques that show it was rushed, put out quickly. The signature is wrong, and this listing doesn't show the back. I can't emphasize this enough. Insist before you buy that the seller shows you photos of the back of the painting. Okay, now let's look at an authentic Garé painting for comparison. Stylistically, this is what you want to see. Bold use of color and simple but clearly painted forms in the tree trunks and branches. A dramatic use of light and shadow. And if you turn it over, the back of the painting has her stamp on it. If it's an original frame, it might have her gallery card, in this case, Chriswood Gallery, but these aren't always present. What is always present is her ID number, which always consists of the year it was painted and the painting done that year. In this case, this was the 4th painting she completed in 1969. And also always the painting's title, Startled Deer in this case. And though again, it's hard to read in these photos, her signature is correct. Note the square G, the A-frame shape A, and an accented E. This is an authentic Garé painting. Here's 2 more Garé paintings from my own collection. In this one, you can see that the trees, branches, and shrubs are painted clearly. Her signature is just what we'd expect. Square G, A-frame shaped A, and an accent over the E. And on the back, her stamp, ID number, and title. This is one of her more photorealistic paintings, High Noon on the Eel, and it was the 26th painting she completed in 1971. Also, it didn't matter if the painting was large or small. In this large painting, done for Leanin' Tree for one of their greeting cards, again the foliage is clearly defined and painted in her clean, almost cartoon-like style. And her signature, which became her brand really, is again what we would expect. Also, flip it over, look at the back, and you can see she stamped it twice. And there's her ID number and her title, Fort Creek Winter, her very first painting of 1974. So back to eBay, another thing to look out for are prints, which might be mistaken for originals. Garé did dozens of prints, some of which were reproduced on canvas with coatings that make them look like original paintings. Don't be fooled. Always insist on looking at the back of the painting, and again, check for her idea number and title. Prints won't have these. With a print, the style and signature will always be correct, obviously, so you have to look at the back. Finally, items from the Barks estate will sometimes show up, like these preliminary texture studies Garé did of redwood trees. These are seldom signed and do not have identifying marks on the back, but there should be a certificate of authenticity signed by the late Jerry Weist. With the publication of my book, Garé Barks Paintings and Drawings, 1961 to 1981, you'll have a guidebook to her paintings, and now you'll be able to spot forgeries, fakes, and misattributions. Over the next few years, I think we're going to see dozens of Garé paintings hit the market in the estate sales of their original owners. There are literally hundreds of her paintings out in the wild, hanging on walls in Southern California from Santa Barbara to San Diego to San Jacinto. It's likely that we'll see a resurgence in the popularity and collectability of this underappreciated mid-century modern artist. And now you'll be able to tell the real from the fake. Good luck out there and happy collecting.